back for part 2, essentially. This is what we're doing. We got a lot to cover, man. You know, when you're out with COVID, it really sets you back. So it does. It's really annoying. But hey, I watched Batman Cape Crusader. I watched most of the first season. I think I still have a little bit of the last.
It's only 10 episodes.
Yeah, I have the last episode to finish. I'm not quite done. You said you saw what, the first 2?
Yeah, I like the first 2. Yeah, I like the first 2.
So what are the first 2? I think
Penguin,
and I think Clayface.
Clayface, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what do you think of the show so far?
Oh, I like it. I like it a lot. It's innovative. Yeah. It's something different.
Yeah.
Like, if you're going to keep retooling Batman, you got to give me something different.
Right.
And I know the first thing out of everyone's mouth was
Penguin's a woman.
Penguin's a woman. But, I mean, I actually like what they did with this version of Penguin because what Bruce Timm said was, in an article, Batman doesn't have a lot of female villains.
Yeah.
And, you know, of course, he got Poison Ivy, Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think he got someone else, but I'm like, what? Ra's al Ghul's daughter?
Talia, but sometimes he has sex with her.
So. Yeah, he has sex with her, so that don't really count.
Same thing with Catwoman.
Same thing with Catwoman.
Yeah.
So he wanted to create more of a more affordable. Is that the right word? Formidable. Yeah. Villain. And with this Penguin, she is a whole lot more ruthless.
Yeah.
Kind of hot too. I like, you know, man, big bone women. I love some big bone women. She is brutal.
Yeah, she does. She does some brutal things in the episode.
Man, she did some jacked up stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, she does. It's for anyone who wants to use, like, think of the children excuse, right? That we've talked about before. Okay. First of all, I do want to point out, this is on Amazon Prime.
Amazon freaking
Prime. No
Prime.
child is streaming anything on Amazon Prime whatsoever. I mean, I think most people are barely streaming anything on Amazon Prime because if it's not an Amazon original, you have to rent everything else. So let's just get that out of the way. There's no kids on Amazon Prime. This is purely for like a teen adult audience. It's got some vibes from the original animated series.
Yep.
Bruce Timm, obviously, same guy who was behind the animated series, or one of the people behind the animated series. So it's got similar vibes, but it's overall in tone, it's a little bit darker, it's a little bit more mature, and I think it's great. Like the first episode with the Lady Penguin, I think that was a great episode. I like the Monster of the Week thing they're doing because there's not really like an overarching story per se. Mm-hmm. It's just every week it's just Batman's kind of going up against a different villain.
Kind of like the old school.
Yeah, kind of like the old school, and the new takes on the villains are interesting. Like you said about Penguin, she's more ruthless, and
Harvey Dent is a sleazeball.
Harvey Dent is straight up a sleazeball. He's kind of part of the reason why Gotham's the way it is because he's kind of a crooked DA.
Because in the original he was just like the White Knight.
Yeah,
but in this one you clearly can tell like, oh, okay, he's
doing some dirty things.
Yeah, he's dirty from the jump.
So that was neat. The new take on Clayface was cool.
I did like that.
Yeah, just like he's just really ugly actor and he wanted more roles, and so he got injected with the Clay stuff.
If you can do that in the Matt Reeves universe, I'm cool with that.
That works. That works perfectly.
Because at first I didn't want to see that at first.
Right.
Because I thought it was going to be like somebody just kill people and turn them into clay.
But I think Matt Reeves is also a part of this.
Yeah, he is.
Cape Crusader.
He is. Him and J.J. Abrams.
Yeah. So that could be like a little bit of a hint or a test of
if you're gonna do
what
that,
works and what doesn't, right?
I'm all for it.
Yeah. So I think that'd be cool. Eventually you get the Harley Quinn episode is really good.
Yeah, I heard that episode was a banger.
How they introduce like Harleen Quinzel and then how she becomes Harley Quinn or why she becomes Harley Quinn without the Joker. It doesn't matter. I have a hard time sometimes understanding where people come from when they're like, oh, they changed up all these characters. It's like, well, if you read the comic books alone have different variations of these characters.
They always have been.
Yeah, that's how it's always been. So at a certain point, like, yeah, when they come to media and they change them up a little bit, it's not the end of the world. I don't know.
Well, I mean, for one, Harley Quinn wasn't even developed in comics. She was developed for
She came from the animated series. You're right. Yeah.
So she can always have a different arc or a different story.
Exactly. And I don't know. Sometimes it just bugs me, and like I get it because also sometimes I find myself being upset with like how certain characters are portrayed.
We all do.
We all fall for it, but at the end of the day, you have to like breathe and just, hey, you know what? These are fictional things.
As long as it's done right.
As long as it's done right and in an interesting way and something that keeps you watching.
You know, well, perfect example
without completely disavowing the character, right?
Exactly.
Because like, okay, Lady Penguin. She was still Penguin.
She was still Penguin. She's a crime boss,
very ruthless, very evil, very bad. Iceberg Lounge, which I thought it was cool that it's a whole cruise ship.
Yeah.
That was cool. Clayface, again, pretty standard. He's an actor. He became a clay monster. Harley Quinn, psychologist. She goes crazy. As long as you have those simple things that make these characters who they are, you can change them up. It's fun.
Well, okay, like Resident Evil. Remember, I think it was Resident Evil that had swapped out a character and made it for a black person. I think that's
Wesker. The main bad guy, yeah.
The main bad guy. And people have problems with that.
Yeah.
I kind of did have a problem a little bit with that, too.
Yeah.
He looked nothing like the person. I'm like...
He really didn't. Okay. He really didn't.
I was like, all right. So, sometimes it can be done because it's stunt casting. You feel like it's stunt casting.
Yeah.
And you just... When you ventured completely off the rails of then
right.
That's different. But in some cases, with Commissioner Gordon being played by a black guy, it goes just right because it fits. Like Jeffrey Wright playing Commissioner Gordon, it works.
Yeah,
this guy that's playing Commissioner Gordon in the animated series, it works.
Yeah,
what's another example? What's his name in Daily Planet? Superman.
Perry
White been played by a black guy twice now.
Yeah.
Wendell Pierce is about to play him.
Yeah.
It was played by Lawrence Fishburne in Man of Steel.
Yeah.
I think people have a problem when it's the main people. I guess sometimes we all fall victim to it, but
we do.
I just try not to be so emotional about it.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, it's been played by a woman. Oh, it's been played by a black guy.
Yeah.
Oh, it's been played by a transgender or a gay person.
Or like,
I can't watch.
Or you get to that point where you're like, they're pandering. That's all they're doing.
They're pandering. Oh, I definitely can't watch this.
It's like take a breath.
Take it down a notch. Just take it down a notch, man.
Take a breath.
It's not that crucial.
It's okay.
It's okay. It's just comics.
Where some things get in trouble is like when you have the creators come out and they either get too defensive.
Snow White
being a good example, and others are like Eric Kripke with The Boys. When people were kind of criticizing the newest season of The Boys, he got really defensive about it. He's like, well, if you don't watch it, if you don't like it, you don't gotta watch it. You're finding out the joke's about you. It's like, well, just that also ruins it for people, right?
It does.
That just really, it reinforces the anger, right?
Because what it is, both sides are pissed off.
Exactly.
They're pissed off, and the other side's pissed off.
Yeah.
So it's like you got two sides that's clashing, and that's what's going on.
Yeah. But you just got to come at it with a level head. But anyway, Batman Caped Crusader is a great show. Very good. I like how they do Bruce Wayne in this, because Bruce Wayne's not a good guy in this show. He's a jerk, and he does not. Him and Alfred have a very strict work relationship.
He calls him Pennyworth.
Calls him Pennyworth.
Yep. When
I first heard that, I was like, damn.
Yeah. I was like, damn, Pennyworth. I was like,
disrespect. I don't know.
Damn.
What?
Call that man straight up Pennyworth.
Yeah.
I was like, all right.
Like he didn't know him. Like he didn't get raised by him or anything.
Sure, right. You go see what happens when you get that soup tonight.
Yeah.
Just get a nice little bowl of spit.
So it was neat seeing like Batman or Bruce being a little bit colder, especially when he wasn't like, obviously he's had his Bruce Wayne persona and he was like more friendly and jovial with people or whatever. But like when he was like with Alfred and like alone, like as soon as he got in the car, like he switches the Batman voice.
Yep.
Like it's Bruce Wayne in public, and then when he's alone with Alfred, Batman. And out of the suit, Batman. Mm-hmm. Very good detail. Very, very good.
Well, I think this is the Batman that Bruce Timm always wanted to do.
Right.
Because the animated series, when it was on network television, you can't do half of the stuff.
You couldn't get away with some of the stuff.
Couldn't get away with that stuff.
There's murder and there's death. I mean, you can portray that.
They did a little bit.
Yeah.
But they couldn't, You
got to do it in a subtle way. Someone had made the comment. They were like, "Yeah, they would do that in the show," but then at the end of the episode, they were like, "Oh, it's a good thing he came out okay."
Yep. Mm-hmm. They would always. I was just about to say that. Yeah.
Like right before the episode ended or whatever.
They had to. They had to.
Yeah. Overall, I'd recommend watching it. If you don't have Amazon, wait till it comes out on DVD or stream or other streaming platforms or wherever, and you'll enjoy it. Just turn your brain off, enjoy the show for what it is. Try not to think about what people are angry about.
True.
And honestly, they do some cool things. They have some supernatural elements in some of those episodes. It's not just straight person in a costume. They do. I think Gentleman Ghost is in one of the episodes, which I was kind of surprised to see. There's a little girl who's like an actual energy vampire. And I don't know if she's from the comics or maybe they made her up for the show. I didn't recognize her.
So I never recognized her.
Yeah. But that episode was really good. And then, of course, they touch on Two-Face, and they did, I think one episode they had Firefly, but they changed his name to Firebug.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah, which, it's not a big deal. It's the same thing. Man, who else did they have? Because it was like Clayface, Harley Quinn, we did, Penguin, Firefly.
In her name, Oswalda.
Oswalda. Yeah. That's the only thing I didn't like. You could have just named her Olivia.
Olivia, something. Like, don't name her Oswalda.
You didn't have to you don't have to give her this ugly name. No wonder she's a crime boss.
Yeah, I'll be a crime boss too if I were called Oswalda.
But Killer Croc was actually a part of it. He was in the same episode with a vampire lady because they're at a carnival.
Killer Croc is in there?
They're at a carnival and he's one of the carnies.
How does he
Waylon
look?
Jones. He's got the crocodile skin because part of his origin story was he had the skin, so he was like part of a sideshow. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so he wasn't like a villain, but he was there. He was there. Mentioned.
So next season he'll probably be big.
There was an episode where there was an assassin that goes after Gordon, and the assassin was Floyd Lawton, Deadshot.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So, and Automatopoeia was one of the villains as well. He's one of our newer villains.
I heard that name a long time.
I think it was created by Kevin Smith too, if I have that right. But I will say the unfortunate news, James, is that next season is going to be introducing the Joker.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
That I already knew.
Okay.
But I don't mind that because that's how they're doing it. It's how they got him portrayed. I was like, oh. Yeah. I did see like a little sneak peek of that. And I was like, oh,
I did, yeah. And I did too. And it's just
pretty brutal.
I don't know. I was like, I would have liked to have not seen the Joker yet. Because I like the first season being the way it is, where it's like, okay, we're just going after all these different villains or whatever, and they leave some of them open to return, some of them go to jail or whatever, but I don't know. We'll see how season 2 comes out. I still need to finish season 1, but I think it's a fantastic show so far. It's really great. So we're gonna move on. Paul Miguel.
Welcome to Greaso Burger. How greasy do you want your beefy? How can I take your order?
Or in the drive-thru.
Yeah, I'll have 15 Greaso burgers, extra greasy, extra mayo Cajun sauce on all 15. It's for my family. 1 extra large diet soda, please.
Do you want ice with that?
Boy, what the hell kind of question is that? Of course I want ice. It's fucking hot out here. And could you speed that up? I'm in a hurry.
With Jacob and James. All right, James, so next I want to talk about the Umbrella Academy a little bit. I know, because you said, did you try watching the show?
I know nothing about this.
All right, so Umbrella Academy, based off a comic book series from Dark Horse. The story is on some random day, 43 women simultaneously, out of nowhere, got pregnant, had a kid. Like 43 women showing no signs of pregnancy, just had a baby, right? So this really rich dude goes and tries to gather as much of them as he can, and he only gets 7. And the press are like, "Why'd you do this?" And he goes, "To save the world." And then he trains these kids up to be like superheroes, and each one of them has powers. Like one of them can talk to the dead, one of them has super strength, one of them can throw knives really good and breathe underwater. Another one has like a godlike ability where she can just be like, "Hey, I heard this happen today," and it would happen, right? Like she just makes things happen, and I enjoy it. I enjoy the comic series. It's really kind of weird and out there, and it's very interesting and vague, right? Because the story's not finished. It's only got about 3-4 volumes, and there's still a lot of questions going on. There's still a lot of things that we don't know, and the story is still being developed, and it's not being developed fast enough, and that's kind of frustrating, but it is what it is. So anyway, Netflix picks it up a couple years ago. Before Netflix got it, it had been kind of shopped around to where it's like, well, maybe it'll be a movie one day, maybe it'll be this, maybe it'll be that, and finally Netflix picks it up. I was super stoked for it. So Netflix does season 1, and it is almost better than the original comic book volume, like the original first volume, because I felt like they managed to take the characters and flesh them out even better than the comic book did. Because the comic books, there's only, I think, maybe 20 issues of the books. There's not a lot of backstory, right? There's not a lot, like they were the kids. Now it's almost like Watchmen, where at the beginning of it, they've already been superheroes and they've already been broken up, and it's just kind of like they're coming back together, right? So the show managed to like flesh them out more in characters and character development and like, you know, the intricacies of each character and all this stuff. And they were able to kind of diversify the cast a little bit, because the main cast from the books are prominently, they're all kind of like the same. They're kind of the same. The show was actually able to diversify them, which makes sense, because if you have 43 kids born at random, you're going to get different ethnicities and whatever. So I thought that was a nice touch. Go ahead.
It also isn't one of the old girl that played Juno.
Juno. Ellen Page, who became Elliot Page. Yeah.
Elliot Page. Man.
It was one of the characters. And this was before she transitioned, and I'll kind of get into that too. So first season comes out, does the first book almost perfectly, pretty much, almost to a T. They had to change some things because, like I said, the comics are like way more wackier and a little bit more violent than the show was. So season 2 comes out. Season 2, again, manages to pretty much hit the nail on the head. And at this point, James, it had already caught up to the comic books. Because I think between season 2 and 3, volume 3 had come out, and by season 3 of the show, it has to deviate quite a bit. And so season 3, like towards the end, I felt like it got kind of like rushed in what was going on. But season 3 ended.
This is an on-the-go spoiler alert. You have now been alerted.
With them losing their powers, and what happens in every season and what happens in every book is like they're trying to stop some apocalypse, right? And so the little boy who can time traveled into the future and got stuck there like a long time ago. So he manages to find his way back, and he's like, hey, just so you know, when I disappeared like 20 years ago, I time traveled to the future, and it was the apocalypse. And I had found out our sister caused it. And the sister in the show is Elliot Page, who was then Ellen Page, right? And so they needed to find out a way to stop her or stop it from happening, and it kind of goes wrong. And in the book, they managed to stop the apocalypse. But in the show, they don't get to stop it, so they had to go back in time again to try to stop it again. And that's how they end up in the 60s in season 2. Because season 2 revolves around like the Kennedy assassination, and the book 2 revolves around the Kennedy assassination. So I'm trying not to over-explain. I'm just trying to give you like the details.
That's fine. Because I knew like some of the details. Like I didn't know like all of it, of course, but I knew like some of it.
Right. So that's what happens in season 2, and then at the end of season 2, they think they fixed everything, so they go back to the present day, and what ended up happening was they changed the time stream so much that when they went back to the present day, their man, who they called their father, the guy who adopted them, right? Mm-hmm. He ended up adopting a whole different set of kids. And so they're a different like group of kids. They're called the Sparrow Academy and not the Umbrella Academy. And so that's where season 3 picks up. And by the end of that season, they end up fixing the timeline again, but then they end up in a timeline where they don't have powers. So now they're adults, now they can live normal lives or whatever, and that's how season 3 ends. And season 4 picks up 6 years later. They're all living normal lives. And some guy comes out of nowhere and he's like, hey, my daughter got kidnapped. I need you guys to help me. I know who you are, and I know like we're in a different timeline, right? So he gives them a box of her stuff, and inside of the box of her stuff is a jar of like what gave them their superpowers. It's called Marigold. And so they take it, and then they all kind of talk about like whether or not they should get their powers back or not. One way or another, they end up getting their powers back right away in the beginning of the season. So now they got their powers, and actually their powers are enhanced. They can do a little bit more than they used to. I thought it was really good. I thought season 4 was pretty solid, actually, like because we got to see them work as a team. Because before this season, they were all like kind of disjointed and kind of against each other. And at some point in this season, they also get disjointed again. And you know, it's just like this is the dysfunction of this family. But season 4 ends with them realizing that in order to fix all of the timelines and all the time streams and all the crap that's happened, is that they cannot exist.
That sounds familiar, but okay.
Yeah, they essentially have to like give their whole existence up. because there's like an anti-version of them essentially that's trying to mold with them so it can destroy everything. Their conclusion was, we can't fight this. We have to let it happen, right? And they do. And then the series ends with like, in a random day in October, nothing happened at all. Actually, it was a perfect day. It showed like everyone thriving and the timeline being fixed and everything. I thought it was a great ending. Everybody online hates it. Like, everyone is pissed about this ending. No, I'm not surprised.
There you go.
And part of it comes from the fact that Umbrella Academy Season 4 is only 6 episodes. And they're 45 minutes to an hour long each. And that's not a lot of time to wrap up a whole series.
True.
Right? Especially one to the nature that is Umbrella Academy, where like you still have a bunch of unanswered questions. Like the guy who adopts them, the Hargreaves, Reginald Hargreaves, he's a space alien. There's no explanation of why he's a space alien. There's like in the show they do a little bit, they get a little bit deeper into it, but comics wise, there's still not like an explanation on like why he adopted the kids. In the show, they managed to kind of flesh it out a little bit more, and there's just like unanswered questions, right? And so obviously people are upset and stuff. And it's funny because I'm coming in as someone who's like read the books and continues to read the books whenever they do come out. And I'm from the perspective of join the club, join, sit next to me because I've been having these same questions for years and we're going to get to it eventually.
Well, I mean, it's just, it's with anything. Whenever you don't finish something, people are always going to have a problem with it.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, the show finished. It just had
a horrible ending.
The way it wrapped up was not satisfactory to a bunch of people. Which
was this done during COVID? You think?
No, season 2 was done during COVID. I mean, we're well out of COVID at this point. What it is
you know how they delay shows.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think what it is like Netflix only wanted to pay for 6 episodes, and so they had 6 episodes to wrap everything up, and so they tried to do it the best they could. But obviously, when you have a limited time, you can't wrap up all your stories. And also, it definitely feels like, I think it was supposed to end at season 3, because the end of season 3, it wasn't the happiest ending, but it also wasn't a sad ending, right? Because like the kids, like they end up in a regular timeline where they can live regular lives. They can move on. They can actually live and not worry about apocalypses or whatever, right? Season 4 picks up. It's 6 years later. Some of them are bored with their lives, and then, oh look, an apocalypse is gonna come. Let's go do this. Let's go be superheroes again, right? Essentially.
Say it like that.
And so the end of this season is like, oh, we have to give up our lives in order for everyone else to be happy. And so I think in a way, with Umbrella Academy, the series on Netflix, I think a good way to look at it is we got 2 finales out of the show. Right, we have a good finale, and then we have the not so good ending for the family. Right, the good ending is they can live their lives like normal, and that's season 3. The bad ending for them, in a way, would be they have to sacrifice themselves and they don't exist anymore. Right, it's however you want to look at it. But I mean, yeah, James. I mean, people online are they're so upset.
Not a shocker.
And it's just funny because like I see people like we never found out why he's an alien. We never found out this. We're like, what's going on with that? And it's funny because in the comics, those are also still questions yet to be answered.
Yeah.
Right? Like in the comic books themselves, it's like, oh, welcome to the club. I'm also wondering why he's a space alien and what's this about and what's that about. So it's funny because there's a separation of people who've read the books and then watched the show, and then who just watched the show.
It's always like that.
Yeah, and
it's always like that.
And I don't know. I mean, I get where people are coming from, and I understand how things go. And unfortunately, it's also Netflix. They don't like to pay for their television shows as much anymore. Honestly, they're lucky they got a 4th season. I don't think they plan. Again, I don't think they plan on the 4th season because most Netflix shows they're canceled after 1 or 2.
Yeah.
And very rarely do they actually get 3 seasons.
I mean, that's one thing I can say about Apple. Apple got some trash shows, but they got their quality.
Yeah.
A1.
Yeah.
They got A1. The quality of their shows is great. It's the shows that are just absolutely horrible. Like if Netflix upped their game with the quality of their shows, it'd be a lot better.
I think so too, because that does really affect. And Netflix again has the oversaturation of like content on their stuff. And then also too, I think with the showrunner for Umbrella Academy, he had some sketchy things come out about him recently.
They always do.
They always do, man. And I think that also affected how people viewed the show and how people viewed that last season.
Sexual assault, something.
Or just toxic. I don't know, in general. But
that's just so stupid.
Yeah.
That's a rant for another day.
Yeah, right. But I really enjoyed the Umbrella Academy. I like the comics. I like the show. Do I think the show could be better? Of course. The first 2 seasons are solid. Like if you want to watch a good a good comic book adaptation, first 2 seasons are pretty great. Season 3 or 4 is where they get a little messy because they go past the original source material and then they kind of have to like Game of Thrones it, right? That's my review on that. That's my takes on that.
I tell everybody you American friends now. You laugh so much.
My next thing I had to talk about, James, was I saw this article. Okay, Deadpool 3 came out, right?
Yeah, it's been making a lot of money.
Huge success, making a lot of money. Everyone loves it.
Hit the $1 billion club.
And the rising star, it seems, from Deadpool 3 is Channing Tatum's Gambit.
It is.
Everyone's making the memes of him. He's honestly one of my favorite bits of the movie.
Oh yeah, that's one of my favorite bits. He killed it.
Yeah, he killed it. He did great. It's also another one of those examples where it's like it's great finally seeing an actor get to portray a character that they've been wanting to portray. Mm-hmm. Right? Channing Tatum has been wanting to do Gambit for 20 years. He's at one point they were trying to do a movie. They were writing scripts. I think they had a script written. They were almost ready to go, and then Disney bought Fox.
Yep.
Fox merger happened. All went away, and that was that. And so Deadpool 3 comes along, and Ryan Reynolds, being the nice, humble person that he is like, hey, come join the movie, be part of the cast. Let's do the Gambit. Let's bring Gambit to life, right? And they got to do that and stuff. And Channing Tatum recently did an interview, I think with like Jimmy Fallon or like one of the Tonight shows, one of those things. He was talking about, he's like, I would do horrible things to play Gambit again and blah, blah, blah. And I suppose like Ryan Reynolds had, snipped that interview and put it on his story that he says, it's impossible not to love and root for Channing Tatum. I'm so happy for this guy. When he makes a Gambit movie, I'll return the favor. If he needs someone to carry sandbags, I'm in. If he needs a Deadpool, I can do that. Someone to provide fresh orange slices to the crew, no problem, name it. So this kind of sparked like this article that was like, Ryan Reynolds is going to help Channing Tatum make Gambit. Reading this, it doesn't really seem like that. I think Reynolds is just like, hey, whenever that opportunity comes around, if it ever comes around, I'm going to help you. Right? And that's nice. That's really great for Ryan Reynolds, but that also leads me into my next point, which some people are probably going to be upset with me about. And that is Ryan Reynolds is not the be-all, end-all of Deadpool.
Right.
He made the Marvel Jesus joke. It was a joke. He's not actually Marvel Jesus. Can we kind of take a step back and stop acting like Ryan Reynolds is like the God King of this production?
I think everyone's just in the moment right now because, let's take it off. I'm gonna see if I can decipher through some of this.
Yeah. The
Channing Tatum stuff with Gambit, that's not happening. Because
I don't think so either.
You kind of made him into a shtick.
Yeah.
So you kind of played himself right there. So I'm like, I don't know. A Gambit movie probably will happen, but it won't be with him.
Right.
So we can get that's done. That's done deal.
Yeah.
I think with the Ryan Reynolds deal, and I was happy to see him back as Deadpool, but I think a lot of it is like, we're trying to stick it to Disney, but at the same time, you do understand
you work for Disney.
You work for Disney.
You're working for Disney,
and the fans are trying to stick it to Disney. Like, see, this is what we wanted.
Right.
But it's a Disney film.
But Disney made it.
Yeah, Disney made it.
They did work closely with Kevin Feige on this.
Exactly.
There was a lot going on, and what annoys me, James, is like there's these like YouTubers and like alternative reporters or whatever that are reporting on supposedly like this is all the drama that was going down on set, and like Disney wanted to shove She-Hulk and Brie Larson in the film, but Ryan Reynolds said no, and he fought against wokeness and blah blah blah. It's like none of it's real.
None of this real because I haven't heard any of that from any of the
not
real
actual
YouTubers.
reputable
sources.
There's a couple of YouTube channels, and I checked them out and I watched some of their videos, and all it is, James, it's a guy who's just doing like a slideshow of things.
Oh yeah, of course.
Like images or clips or whatever from the trailers, and he's like reporting like he knows some stuff, but he doesn't give sources. He doesn't say where he's getting the information from. He's not providing any sort of actual credibility to it.
Exactly, because look, I'm gonna tell you right now, if anything I would have got from that, I would have told you like, hey, it was John Campea that said this, it was John Rocha that said this,
right?
Christian Harloff, Grace Randolph, all the reputable people that they get their reputable stuff from, they would have put their names to it.
Right.
That's none of that stuff. Jeff Snyder, another guy. None of that stuff is true. That's all they say, and they trying to stick it to Disney, but Disney funded the movie.
Ryan Reynolds worked with Kevin Feige on this. He worked very closely. He's a fan of the MCU.
Well, he not only was a fan, but he worked closely with Fox.
Yeah, he worked
years.
He also worked. Yeah, Kevin Feige worked closely with Fox. Kevin Feige was a PA on the original X-Men movies.
Yes.
In fact, Kevin Feige was the one who gave like the cast comic books apparently, because Bryan Singer didn't want comic books on set.
Yep.
When he was making those films, and so, I mean, as much as people dislike what Marvel's doing, there is love and affection in there, and like. I don't know, they keep blaming Bob Iger for stuff, but I'm like, Bob Iger just came back.
Bob Iger just came back to clean up the mess that the other Bob Chapek made.
I saw some video that were like, Ryan Reynolds fights back against Kevin Feige and Bob Iger. It's like, Bob Iger was not around for it.
He was not, like, I guarantee you, Bob Iger, Ryan Reynolds met with Bob Iger. Kevin Feige met with Bob Iger. Everyone, this was a collaborative effort to get this thing achieved.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what this is about. Like, if you know anything about films, to all these people that know so much about everything, it was a collaborative effort.
Yeah.
Okay, it just was.
Yeah, like there's a big fake rumor going around that like the She-Hulk actress is mad because she wanted to be in Deadpool 3 and they didn't let her. And like Ryan Reynolds, did an interview with Vanity Fair. Like him, Hugh Jackman, and Sean Levy did an interview with Vanity Fair, and Ryan Reynolds had made a comment where, when they began production on the film, he said the other actors on set would come in and they're like, "Oh, cool, I get to break the fourth wall. Like, what kind of jokes do I get?" And Ryan Reynolds had to explain that he's like, "Look, my rules are like only Deadpool breaks the fourth wall because if too many characters do it, it gets too meta, and Deadpool's the only character that breaks the fourth wall." Well, first of all, it's a false statement because in the comics, Deadpool's not the only one who breaks the fourth wall. She-Hulk also breaks the fourth wall. So anyway, someone had taken that and they spun it to where it's like, well, now the She-Hulk actress is so upset and she filmed 2 scenes from the movie, but they cut them out. She didn't film anything for the movie.
She never filmed anything about that movie.
There's nothing. There's also a rumor that Brie Larson filmed scenes as like Warhawk or whatever.
Well, you do know where this is coming from, right?
What?
Because you named 2 people, 2 explosive women in this thing, because I was like, okay, I see where we're
controversial casting.
Yeah, controversial. Brie Larson. Everyone loves to hate Brie Larson.
They really do.
And the young lady who plays She-Hulk, I forgot her name.
Tatiana Maslany is her name. From what I've seen of her, she's had pretty regular reactions to She-Hulk. I don't know. Like, I haven't seen any actual official like blow up from her. Yeah. Again, there's all these false reports where it's like, oh, she blew up at this actor and she blew up at these fans and blah, blah, blah.
Made up stories.
Yeah, and there's an interview from her from like 2022 where they were like, hey, would you like to do, like, what character would you like to be on screen with one day? And she mentioned Deadpool because she's like, oh, both of our characters break the fourth wall. I think that'd be kind of fun.
And it would be cool to see that.
And that was the only statement.
That's it.
She wasn't implying that like, oh, if I don't get a role in the next Deadpool movie or anything like that.
She never said any of that. Yeah. I don't know why we just can't enjoy a movie, and enjoy a good movie,
right?
And just call it a day. Like, Deadpool was a success, and as far as people saying it was an anti-woke movie, this couldn't be more of a woke movie.
It was. It had woke concepts. He
had homoerotic jokes,
very homoerotic,
all up in this
the
damn
whole
movie.
time. What is it? He was like, I'm gender blind, and he kept referring himself to as a female. Which I suppose you could see as like an anti-woke concept or whatever. Like, oh, he's making fun of the pronouns, but like also it wasn't in a, I don't know, offensive way. It wasn't in that like tone, you know.
I just wish people could just enjoy the damn movie.
Right, it's a movie. It did great. It did fine.
It hit the $1 billion club right along with Avatar, Jurassic World. I didn't know Jurassic World was in that.
Was it really?
Yeah, it was in the $1 billion club. I said, that last one. You can believe that.
Oh.
So
Weird.
it's like, man, I don't know why we just can't enjoy a good film. It was a good film. Kind of getting tired of it now.
Yeah, that's how Deadpool is anyway, right?
Yeah,
Deadpool is fun in small doses or whatever.
I'm done. I'm done.
My main point is, like, let's stop pretending like Ryan Reynolds is literally Marvel Jesus.
Well, we know he's not.
Let's stop pretending he was the be all end all, like, yes and no man on the set, because he wasn't.
It was a collaborative effort.
Yeah, he had a lot of input because it's kind of in a way his baby. But
Kevin Feige's gonna get the last say.
Kevin Feige's getting a big say, and that's just how it is.
And before that, Bob Iger's gonna get the other say.
Right.
So we already know how this is gonna go.
Right.
Before anything else.
Right.
Let's get that out the way.
Yeah.
And as far as people not knowing their due diligence on how Disney works and how this whole thing shaped out, because I don't have to keep going back over this again. Bob Chapek was the guy that's responsible for the downfall of Disney.
He was the one who wanted to, like, shoehorn the shows and all.
He's the one that wanted all that stuff.
And then he was also the same one who wanted to undercut everybody.
Exactly.
Because that's what happened with the She-Hulk show.
Exactly.
Right? Like, they were supposed to have, like, this big budget for it, and then they cut it in half, and then they fired, like, half the VFX team, or they didn't want to pay half the VFX team. That's why that show came out like the way it is.
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with the actress.
It had nothing to do with the actors. Had nothing to do with anybody.
And I'll do you one better. One of the writers from She-Hulk is a writer on Deadpool 3.
Yeah.
Zeb Wells. He's also a writer of some of the Spider-Man comics recently. He created this Paul character who basically cuckolded Spider-Man. So I just wanted to point that out, because apparently, like, people in the Spider-Man fandom are very upset with his writer from what he did in the comics. Like, the guy ends up marrying Mary Jane and having, like, kids with her.
Well, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
If you would have told me the most controversy we'd be seeing right now in Hollywood is Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, even though the Ryan Reynolds thing it's not really like a big deal. That's rumor stuff.
Yeah, it's all rumor stuff. And
now his other half, that's real.
What's going on with her?
What's good? Well, the Blake Lively situation, because her movie came out, It Ends With Us, which is doing balls to the walls money right now. For all that stuff that people say they love progressive movies, that women love progressive movies.
Yeah. This is pretty standard romantic movie.
Well, it's pretty dramatic. It's pretty dramatic. It's based off a book.
Yeah.
So, movies that's based off of books usually tend to do good in movie theaters. So, I don't know what's going on. I don't know the full story, but there's a lot of stuff going on with the director of the movie. And Justin Baldini, I think I pronounced his name the right way. But Justin Baldini and Blake Lively, this beef, man, it is heating up hard.
Interesting.
And right now, because Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively have their own production company, so they funded this movie.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Right now, they're kind of like the bells. What you call it? The queen of the ball, the queen of the bell.
Yeah, the bell of the ball.
The bell of the ball right now of Hollywood.
Yeah, interesting.
They can't do no wrong.
Yeah,
they both had 2 successful movies this summer, and and Blake Lively got some stuff going on with the director. And he also played like the lead too, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, he played the lead too. He's the guy that abused her, acting wise, character wise. Because about an abusive boyfriend.
Yeah. I've seen
like
trailer.
that.
Yeah.
I don't have interest to see it, obviously.
Yeah.
But it's making a lot of money.
They were acting like it's like such a phenomenon, and I'm just like, I've never heard of this book series or this book ever or this writer.
But I'm pretty sure they're gonna make another one.
Yeah, they probably will, because I think it's like a series of books.
Yeah, it's a series of books. Kind of like a Traveling Sisterhood of Yaya Pants.
The Yaya Pants.
You remember that?
Yeah, it's the sister of the Traveling Pants. What's the Yaya from?
Oh.
What's that about?
I don't know why I heard that before. Yaya Pants. Maybe it was just a joke.
Well, James, without further ado, that's all we got for this little bit. That's all. That's kind of all we had. So... Yep. Hey, again, guys, we need to know what we're doing for our 100th episode. So if you have any ideas, just email us. We got 8 episodes to go, I think, after this. 8 or 6, I don't know, something like that. But email us, alldengopod2023@gmail.com. Send us your ideas, send us your thoughts, send us your feelings, questions, comments, concerns, all that great stuff. You can find us on Instagram. It's On The Go with Jacob and James. It's all one word. You can find me on Instagram at jacobdanton.audio. You can find James on Instagram at
James9794.
You can find us on YouTube. It's On The Go with Jacob and James. Please like, subscribe, ring the bell, do all the things you need to do to keep us in your life. And without further ado, I'm on the go, James is on the go, and we're all on the go.